Hey, good morning everybody. So today we're going to talk about a new product that we have. It is a Camel lifting mat made by a company called Manger. We actually have these on the supervisor vehicles. We just put these out there, trained the supervisor group, but we want everybody else to be able to see. So we're going to show you what we have. We're going to actually use it on Leslie. And so the goal here is that we want to make sure that we are doing the best type of lifting, the safest type of lifting, and in EMS we know that back injuries are a very common thing, so we want to try to eliminate these as much as possible. So what you will see is down here we have, in this black box, we have the power source. Right now we have the AC plugged in. So if you go to a house and the air compressor is not actually charged, we can plug it into any AC and then it will run. Otherwise, this is a battery operated. It will give you about 2 lifts on an average weighted person, and then it has to be recharged. So this is in the supervisor vehicle. And then over here on this side, we have the actual Camel pack, which is the airlift mat system. So remember, the goal here today with this particular product is lifting. So if we have a patient that's a dead lift from the ground, you're going to want to contact the supervisor, have the supervisor come out, and the air mattress system will actually lift the patient so that we don't have to lift the patient on our own. So with the mat, what you'll find here, when you open it up, is inside the mat itself are the cable system. So this is the actual controller arms right here, and then the mat. And if you look at it, there's kind of a donut opening on this side. This tells you it's the bottom, okay? And then you don't have the donut on this side. And so this is actually going to be the patient contact side. So you're just going to lay it out next to your patient. You're going to want to log roll your patient onto the mat. You want to get them centered, and you want the butt to be on these ribs right here. So you may have to move the patient, do a slide in order to move them more closer to the center of the room or to an open space. So step one is we're going to actually get it connected, and it's pretty simple to match it up. All we're going to do is match the numbers and the colors. And you'll find these are kind of different ribbed numbers, order sets in here. So there's a 2. Okay, so now this is actually connected. And you've got one that actually will go to your air compressor. Leslie, if you want to put that together for us. Okay. All right. So for the purposes of this demonstration, because we're going to actually have this connected to the AC system, I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. So we've got the lights on, and then we're just going to give it one simple push. We have a green light, and we know we're ready to go. So if we had the patient laying on the ground, in this case, Leslie's going to go ahead and lay down for us so that we don't have to log roll or move her around. Notice her butt is on the 3 ribs, and her head is up by the Camel logo up here. So anybody can go ahead and use this system. It's pretty simple, so you're going to have a 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to start with number 1, and we're going to go through a half fill on the top piece. And the reason why we do that is that we want the patient to kind of be centered. We may have to do a little bit of an adjustment to the patient, but you'll notice the top piece will actually start to elevate. So once it kind of conforms around the patient, then we're going to go ahead and stop. So it's going to be a half fill. Sometimes you might get air a little bit to one side or the other, depending on the particular patient. If the rib fills to one side and not the other, all you have to do is just simply push on it a little bit and it'll readjust the air a little bit, okay? So we want to have more than one person on scene. Maybe it's going to be a fire department, maybe it's going to be just the crew members and the supervisor. But anytime we do a lift, regardless of what type of lift we do, we want to make sure that somebody is kind of at the halfway point with the patient. This is a little bit of a funky feeling if you've never been through this before. So you want to be about the halfway point just to kind of reassure them, make eye contact with them. And then if they do start to slide a little bit to one side or the other, you can stop, readjust them a little bit, and then continue to go. So we did number 1. The next thing we're going to do is number 2.
Overfill the rib. Once you get to a max fill point, the air compressor will actually start to divert the air away from that rib. So you cannot explode the rib with air. So I pushed the rib until number 2 is fully inflated and you can hear that the compressor went off. Then I'm going to go to number 3. So I've completely filled number 3. At the interval between each one of these ribs, if you need to adjust the patient, you can adjust the patient to one side or the other. So if we need to tip her a little bit to one side, kind of get her readjusted to center her back, then we can do that. Leslie's centered on here pretty well, so this is a pretty easy lift. So now I've done number 3. At this point, I'm going to look at the patient's feet, see if they're kind of steady right here on the ground. If it's a really short person, we might be able to just at this point lift them, help them up to sitting position. I can go back to number 1 and I can fill it completely and it will actually sit up. We'll demonstrate that here in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and fill it all the way to number 4 just so you can see it completely filled up. Okay, so there's number 4. If you look, Leslie's feet are completely off of the ground. She's dangling. I could have stopped at 3. I could have done a little bit of 4. I don't have to fill up 4 completely, but I just wanted to show you completely elevated off the ground. Most people, unless they're about 6'4", 6'5", 3 ribs, 4 ribs, that's going to be somewhere in there. Now we're going to go back to number 1 and I'm going to show you where this is actually going to sit the patient up by itself. So here we are. The seat has actually sat the patient up all by itself. So at this point, the patient is in a sitting position. Instead of trying to actually lift the patient up, we're just going to let them do it themselves. We might be giving them just a little of an assistance hand, but at this point we really want them to do the work if possible. So there you go. So this is the patient, this is the Manger lift system. it has lifted the patient for us. As you can see, even with my flat tire of a broken leg, I can lift this patient without any problems. My back is just fine. This didn't hurt me at all.
Is there a weight limit?
The weight limit on this is about 750 pounds. We know it will lift 550 pounds. We did that apparently this weekend with one person and a couple people just to kind of sit and assist. If the patient is dirty, if you have a patient who has got a bunch of debris or dirt or feces or whatever on them, you can put a sheet on here. You can use any one of the lifting sheets. You can put it over the top. This is a canvas material, so you can wipe this down when it's done. Soap and water is just fine. You can wash it down or wipe it down with any of our white products. And then the reverse, to put it back, is really simple. All we're going to do is just disconnect the system. So we're going to do just the whole process in reverse. Just kind of let it deflate. Give it a little bit of assistance to help push the air out of it. And then we can roll it and wrap it up and use it again for its next time. So ultimately the goal here is we're trying to reduce the number of back injuries, soft tissue injuries that we have from lifting patients, deadlifting patients. So if you get out on scene and you have a patient that is a deadlift, don't try to just get underneath and lift them up. Call for the supervisor. Let's use the lifting system that we have. It's safer for the patient, it's more comfortable for the patient, and ultimately it's safer for you guys. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. So we appreciate it. Thank you for the job you guys are doing. Be safe out there.